My name is Mark-Alexi Cote. I'm the creative director on The Tyranny of King Washington, Assassin's Creed 3 3-part DLC. And you're watching Eurogamer.
Hey guys, Ian from Eurogamer here. Now, Ubisoft have just launched the first of 3 episodes from its bonkers new Assassin's Creed 3 DLC, The Tyranny of King Washington. It's set in an alternate reality and stars Connor's native self, how do you say it?
Radonagedon.
Cheers, mate. That was Mark-Alexi Cote, the creative director on The Tyranny of King Washington, and I think it'll be best for all of us if he gives us the rundown of what's actually going on with each chapter of the DLC instead. Take it away, Mark-Alexi.
Kill them all!
The Tyranny of King Washington is essentially 7.5 hour episodic content for Assassin's Creed 3, featuring a different George Washington, a George Washington that's been corrupted by the power of the Apple of Eden. He has really become a mad king that has transformed America, and he's really enslaving it. And it also features Radonagedon, Connor's native self, who will oppose George Washington and try to bring him down.
Take hold of your senses!
In the first episode, Radonagedon wakes up in the frontier. He's being waken up by his mother, and he's like a bit confused about where is he and what's actually happening. And then something terrible will happen that will motivate him for the rest of the episodes to go after George Washington and kill him.
I thought I'd lost you. But you're here.
In the second episode, that's called The Betrayal, you will oppose Benjamin Franklin, who is George Washington's lieutenant in Boston, and try to liberate the city and try to find a means to kill George Washington. But something catastrophic will again occur and will force you to escape the city and attack George Washington and at his seat of power in New York. It features the episode we call the Redemption. It is the episode where you will go and finish your fight against George Washington. It features probably the most transformed environment that we've built into the DLC. In the middle of New York, we've excavated a huge part of it to build George Washington's palace, which is a huge pyramid inspired from the pyramids of Egypt and the back of the US $1 bill.
The Illuminati stuff, is it?
Yes, but it's got nothing to do with the Illuminatis. But I mean, this was just too good an opportunity to pass up when we were thinking about the seat of power for George Washington. We really thought that the huge pyramid would be incredibly stimulating for the player's imagination.
So, why did you guys decide to set the DLC in an alternate reality?
The core part of the story is an alternate reality, but what people will come to understand as they play The Tyranny of King Washington is that there is more to it than that. Right from the start, we tease the player with how Connor is related to all this experience, and when the players play it, they will see Radonagedon. In fact, they will see Connor transforming into Radonagedon, and as players progress through the story, they will come to see and understand why this is canon, because it's an important point to mention. It is part of the Assassin's Creed universe. It's not just an alternate reality. The alternate reality is part of it, and player will come to understand its part as they play it.
But how do players come to understand its part in the Assassin's Creed universe? Well, my guess is as good as yours at the moment, but this glitchy video which plays when the first episode starts may hold some clues, and players can unscramble its message by collecting memory artifacts hidden around the game world. It's not only the alternate reality setting which is a little bit fantastical in The Tyranny of King Washington though. Over the course of the 3 episodes, Connor or
Radonagedon.
Yeah, him. He also gets to learn some crazy supernatural powers. Fill us in, Mark-Alexi.
There are three powers in Assassin's Creed: The Tyranny of King Washington, and the reason we build those powers for the player is because, like, we think that after playing for 40 or 50 hours of Assassin's Creed 3, we need to give you something else, something interesting to make the DLC an amazing experience for you. So these powers are based on the three core pillars of any Assassin's Creed experience. Those are combat, navigation, and stealth. In the first episode, we give the player a power called the Wolf Cloak. So this is nothing less than stealth on demand, right? You just press a button and you vanish. You can then stalk your enemies and kill them from behind in a super efficient manner. The counterweight to that mechanic is that you lose health as you use the Wolf Cloak. So you need to be careful about how you use it because if you bump into enemies, you will lose the cloak, right? So if you approach them and then miss your opportunity, well, you're going to uncloak with maybe not a lot of health, so it might make combat more difficult. In the second episode, The Betrayal, we introduce the player to a power called the Eagle Flight. So this is a really incredible power that allows you to just target any element in the environment, and as you press your tool button, you transform into an eagle and you almost zoom to that element. And then what's super fun is that you can chain it, and then just as you transform back into human form, you can just target another element and keep flying around the world in a very interesting manner. And in the last episode, The Redemption, we give the power to the player of the Bear Might. So this plays on the combat pillar, and it allows you to incapacitate enemies in a radius surrounding you. So once you get a power, it stays with you for the next for all the episodes, right? So but what makes it super interesting is when we start combining these powers. So for example, you can be using the Eagle Flight to kill an enemy, and as you kill him, you transform and you use the Wolf Cloak to hide yourself, but guards will investigate the commotion, like they will all surround you, and then you can just sneak out and then use your Eagle Flight again to escape a tricky situation, and you can pick out enemies like that if you are good at manipulating the different powers. So it's a really rewarding experience when you start combining it.
Each of these new powers are gifts from the Native American gods, and are gained from trips to the Sky World, which is accessed by drinking a hallucinogenic tea made from the bark of a huge red willow tree. With tea featuring heavily in the main campaign, and now this magical trippy tea, I've got to ask, what is it with the love of tea in this game?
It's a tribute to the UK and its love of tea, but all kidding aside, it's when we started working on these powers, we needed to find a way that was credible for accessing what we call the sky journeys, where you meet animal spirits and they give you a challenge, and if you solve it, you get the power and you can bring it back into the world, right? So at the beginning, we thought about having spiritual stones, and you would just like perform a ceremony next to the stone, and it would take you to the sky world. And working with our native consultant, they found that to be insulting to their culture. And it's one of the key things about Assassin's Creed, the Assassin's Creed theme, is that we really try to do things in a respectful manner. So we after a bit of back and forth, we found out that the most respectful way to go about this was to have a red willow bark tea ceremony. So that's how it got into the game.
I was a big fan of the naval missions in Assassin's Creed 3. Any chance they'll make a return in The Tyranny of King Washington?
Yes, the first, without giving any story spoilers, the first mission of the last episode starts with a really epic naval mission, and I'll let players play it out and enjoy it.
Awesome! And finally, for all those fans of Assassin's Creed 3, what can you say to them to make them really excited for The Tyranny of King Washington? Why do you think this DLC is unmissable?
Playing Assassin's Creed 3 The Tyranny of King Washington will give you access to brand new content. We've made an effort to choose all the content that people love the best and put it into this DLC. And for me, I would play it just to see the ending of all the DLC, of all the story that we're giving to the player. It feels like a very satisfying end to the Assassin's Creed 3 storyline, and it gives a good explanation to the personas of George Washington and Connor, and how they end things in the end.
Thanks, Mark-Alexi. Anyone suffering from a strong assassination addiction can download the first episode of this DLC right now on the Xbox 360, PS3 and PC, while Wii U owners will have to hang on a little bit longer to get their fix of this intriguing content. Let us know what you think about the nutty new direction the DLC is taking in the comments below. Will this rekindle your interest, or would you have rather had a game set in Connor's normal reality? You can read Eurogamer's verdict in our review of Part 1 of the DLC by clicking on the annotation at the top of the video, and as always, please do subscribe to Eurogamer by clicking the bottom link. We've got crazy big coverage of all of 2013's biggest games coming all the time, and I want you to be here as soon as it lands. Thanks for watching, see you next time. Now where's that Red Willow tea? Ah, there it is. Oh. Oh man, whoa, look at all the crazy colours.